Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Thompson. Welcome back to Read Your Library. Our book today is called Loving Frank. And who's Frank? Well, as you might guess from the way the cover looks, we're talking about Frank Lloyd Wright, America's greatest architect and one of the greatest architects ever, who you probably know. You definitely know his name. You probably know a little bit about him. You're familiar with his architectural style, probably. You've seen lots of pictures or had the opportunity to visit some of the great houses and structures that he designed. But this book, interestingly, is a fictionalized account of the true story of the woman that Frank Lloyd Wright fell in love with and who essentially wrecked his marriage, I guess is how you would put it. Interestingly, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Mama, maybe, Cheney, who met Frank Lloyd Wright, and this is a true story, at the turn of the century in 1903 when her husband commissioned him to design them a house. So that ended up being a mistake on the husband's part, but who could have known? They fell in love while he was designing and building their house. And they were both married, both had children, and this was, as we say, at the turn of the century, so in the early 1900s, at a time when there was a lot going on in American society, the first stirrings of feminism, a real shift in social mores, but not enough to really make it okay to run off with your architect and leave your husband and children. So the story is a really interesting one, written from her point of view, about meeting him, about her own intellectualism, her own talents, her own desires to make something of herself that kind of gets subsumed into her love for this brilliant man, what it was like to be with him, what he was like, what inspired him, what made him such a great architect. But it also kind of starts to follow a fairly familiar course if you read a lot of historical biographies or fictionalized biographies, as this one is. You'll see a kind of a pattern emerging of brilliant, talented, or inspired women falling in love with brilliant, talented, or inspired men, and unfortunately, not necessarily getting to live the full flower of their own talents because they either serve as a muse, inspiration, helpmate, or in some other way subsume themselves into the man's career and the man's artistic vision, talent, passion, drive, whatever it may be. This seems to be what's happened in this case. And unfortunately, another pattern you often see is these brilliant artistic men, interestingly, fall in love with these women, but at some point fall back into a pattern of domesticity or the desire for domesticity, requiring a household, requiring someone to take care of them or run their household or make sure that they have the time and space to create their art or their work, often at the expense of the woman, even though that's what he fell in love with her in the first place, you think. I don't know. So this is a remarkable book. It's a first-time novelist, Nancy Horan. She did a truly huge amount of research into the historical facts underpinning this story, and then she projected herself into this woman's mind and heart and tried to really capture the essence of what it meant to fall in love with Frank Lloyd Wright and have this illicit affair that turned into more of a relationship and then eventually came to an end in a way that you'll discover if you read the book. Loving Frank, I've heard rumors they're going to make it a movie. It would be a good one. I can imagine, say, I don't know, Keira Knightley or someone of that nature in the lead role. Read it and see for yourself. And thanks for coming back to see Read Your Library. I'll see you next time.